Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Victoria. That one's for you.
Victoria, alcoholic. Okay, I'm so fadrade. Okay, Laura, thank you for asking me to speak, and I love this meeting so much. And I walked into this meeting just about 29 years ago, and I look good about 29 years ago. I did. We were hot. John and I were saying we were hot when we came here. And party. And my plan was, when I got here 28 years ago, was to clean up for 30 days because I couldn't really get that fresh thing going. So I had a plan when I got here to clean up for 30 days, and then I was too young for Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I was gonna go. Anyway, and I'm still here, and I never drank or used again, and that was not my plan, but that's my story. And when I got here in 1979, I met a man named Joe Allen who, I'll tell you what it used to be like, but I met a man named Joe Allen who said to me, Victoria, do you know what real knowledge is? And because of the way I grew up, I knew everything about everything, because I had to. And I had to be super heads up and super self-reliant, or else. And when Joe asked me, do I know what real knowledge is, I said, sure, because that was pretty much my answer. And he said, you know, I'm gonna save you the trouble. He said, real knowledge is everything you learn after you know everything. And that has been my story here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Not my plan, but it has been my story. And like a lot of the birthday people, happy birthday. Great birthdays tonight. Happy, happy birthday. They talked about the freedom. They talked about the magic. And soundtrack, music. And I have had that experience myself. And again, it wasn't my plan. I came here and I wanted fame, fortune, and revenge. That was my plan. I grew up in Beverly Hills. I'm the youngest of 5. I had 2 drinking, alcoholic parents who were very much into keeping up with the Joneses, and I like to say the Katzes. And it took me years in recovery before I could see who they were, and I could see that how they behaved was about who they were, not about who I was. And my parents were, they loved to fight. They would get drunk and fight, and we would hide. You know, there was 5 of us, and we would hide. And then sometimes the attack, you know, was on us. And then I would alibi and joke and, you know, and take it, whatever. And like Charlie said, he started getting loaded when he was 11. I think for me, I was 12. And with two alcoholic parents, they say 75% chance that one of the kid will have a 75% chance of having the allergy of the body that alcohol and drugs does for me. What it doesn't do for non-alcoholics. What it does for me. And I have a couple of kids, and I say to them, sorry about the gene pool, you know, you have a 75% chance, and so, you know, if it's possible, there is a solution. An amazing, miraculous solution to this, as Charlie talked about, the obsession of the mind, that the disease of alcoholism resides in my mind. I was told when I got here it was a disease of perception. And I was told when I got here that, as I said, everything I learned because I was told. That I matched up my experiences with my old ideas, and I came to conclusions. And a lot of those conclusions, which are old ideas, I came to before I had a God consciousness. It was me against the world. It was black and white. You know, I had a hard story to tell when I got here, and you'd all agree with me about my hard story that I had to tell. And I read in the 12 and 12 that all of my relationships are categorized by being overly dependent, or I tend to dominate. And so my victim story was my need to be overly dependent. And so anyway, I came in with these old ideas, and I remember Linda McGuire speaking. I had 30 days of sobriety. Anyway, so I was a teenage alcoholic. I had drugs and alcohol in my locker. I had, you know, it was the 70s, so I had a big purse, so I had a bong in my purse, and I'd sit in English class, and people would say, "Oh, do you smell pot?" We called it pot by then. Back then, my children tell me it's called weed now. So I told them, sorry, I'm out of date, but smoked it and sold it. So you know, and you know, there was one point in my drinking and using that I said to myself, "How did I get here?" You know, how did I get here? And I think what drove me is, you know, I had all this, wow. You know, way back then, we didn't have like all this awareness. And you know, I'm told recovery is possible without understanding why about anything, even though I need to know why, you know. And I came here after trying to stop by myself. And I had heard that a girl who was one of my lower companions, and I'm from Beverly Hills, so lower companion means she passed out at the Rod Stewart concert, you know. That's how lower companion it was. But, you know, the story of an alcoholic walks up to the bartender and asks for a drink, and the bartender says, "It'll cost you all your friends," and you say, "I'll have the drink, it'll cost you your dignity, pour me the drink," you know, and it costs, you know, and the tab runs, and I can't stop, and I can't understand why I can't stop. And I vow to not be like my parents, you know, I vow. So I hear Tracy comes to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I meet Tracy at a meeting, and Tracy was a social butterfly here at Rodeo. And she knew everyone and everybody's business, and she introduced me to everyone. And I thought it was lame. I thought I was too young. I couldn't identify with the speakers. I felt something here, but I couldn't identify with the speakers. I have to say, you know, my greatest heroes are the people I've heard from the podiums in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I think I was about 8 months sober. If you're new to Alcoholics Anonymous, I want to welcome you. If you're returning, you know, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. You know, we do it someone else's way here. And what we do flies in the face of everything that you believe. And the solution sometimes doesn't match the problem, but it works. I used to call my sponsor with great drama. And she'd say, you know, go to a meeting. And I'd say, I'm sorry, did you just miss what I said for the last 10 minutes? I couldn't understand how one related to the other. And Beverly has been my sponsor for 28 years, and also not my idea. And so this journey for me, you know, I want to keep it young, but because everyone's so young here. But this journey for me really has been about surrendering my fear and looking into the fourth column of the fourth step. It's been about developing a relationship with the God of my understanding, starting with you're talking about it, starting with my sponsor's faith, starting with blind faith, starting with doing it but I don't believe it, starting with an intellectual understanding of a power greater than myself, to, like when I do my four columns and I write down, always I'm either triggered, so I'm pissed, so I have fear, and when I find out what I'm afraid of not getting or afraid of losing, how I surrender that is I become willing to not get it or to lose it, if it is the path, if it is God's path for me. I understand that once I surrendered my old ideas about God and created a new concept of God, borrowing your pieces of God till I could have an experiential relationship with God, which I have today, I absolutely feel His presence when I take the time to surrender my fear, make the amends, and sit in silence. Because what I've found is that I live the life God has given me, the role He has handed me. And it was bad news in the beginning. And today, I take no thought for my life. I follow that inner guidance today. That's how I live today. It's effortless. It's worry-free. The work I do is I excavate the fear. I surrender the fear. I see my part in it. I do a lot of forgiveness work, a lot of forgiveness meditation. You know, I've tasted some freedom here in recovery. I still have the obsession of the mind. I still can build a case during the day and plead my case in the middle of the night. But I have to take pen to paper to write the person's name, what they did, the area it affects, emotional or financial security, my place in society, and what I'm afraid of not getting or afraid of losing. And that's the course of my day. That's the course of my day. And what I've learned is exponential. You know, what I've learned is the freedom, really, and the willingness, and to stay willing, and to I don't know, gratitude. I feel such deep gratitude every day. I marvel at my beautiful life, really. I mean, I was this self-reliant, it's up to me, if I don't figure it out, it ain't gonna happen, driven, frightened, not present, living by everybody else's rules. I grew up with 2 drunks, so I'm so outwardly directed. I so need your approval. I so need your understanding. I so need you to co-sign. But people have clay feet. Circumstances have clay feet, which means people will disappoint me. Circumstances will disappoint me. It's the addict in me that thinks I have to arrange the circumstances to feel a certain way. And I've been an avid meditator since I've been 10 years sober. And I've been a disciplined meditator, which means I do it when I don't want to, because it's a spiritual discipline. I've had great wisdom. I've had great direction. I've had nothing. I've had great relief. And so for me, it's about developing this inner life, this unsuspecting inner resource. I had some guy at work. I work at a Bentley dealership, and it's all about the outsides. And I had some customer say to me, talked about something about my life, and I said, it doesn't matter, I don't mind. It's good either way. And he said, how can you say that? And I said, because for him it was something important. I can't even remember what it was. I said, my inner life is so large that I don't mind what happens. I'm not attached to anything working out anyway. I'm 49 years old, coming up on 29 years of sobriety. And I've given up on predicting how it's going to look. And I've stationed myself in the willingness to charge my batteries and be of service. Like I go to work some days and it's very competitive at work environment. And I always think, all right, how am I going to get an edge today? And I always have a bad day those days. And if I can go to contribute, then I have a great day. How can I add something here? And I was frightened when I got here. I was entitled when I got here. I was the type who said, how can I be out of money? I still have checks, that was me. I tried all the deck chairs on the Titanic. I tried them all. And you have to do that to find your own path and your own wisdom and your own understanding, which is specific to each and every one of us. Our experience absolutely does benefit others. I don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it at all. But like my friend Mindy S. says, some of the biggest things that happened in my sobriety that didn't go my way aren't even a line in this pitch tonight. And they were a big deal then. They were a big deal. But, I don't lose sight of that there's a big picture, It's the old story of, I don't know if it's good or it's bad. And like every trigger, whoever's in my craw is the gift to the thread, to the freedom. Every trigger. I figure if I annihilate everyone, I'll be free. But there's only one source of power. There's only one source of all the power. And the access for me is within. I am powerless, but the access to the power is within. And so, you know, it's very simple for me today. You know, it's very simple. And I have, you know, serenity in the face of calamity, except for I don't perceive it as calamity. You know, I've got these 2 teenagers. I've got a 17-year-old who drinks, however much or little, I don't know. And I have a fabulous younger son who, I don't know. And they are, you know, like our birthday person said, you know, they are such a gift for me. They are such a gift for me. And, you know, it's like we code break here. You know, my parents, I don't know if they ever had a conscious thought that their children, 5 of us, were such a gift to them. But it stops right here in this generation. And sometimes whatever we're healing is our whole family tree. Sometimes it's so hard. But there is one power that I can turn to. There is one power that I can turn to for all the healing. If I can get to the pause. If I can get to the pause. And, you know, as I said, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work surrendering that self-reliance and surrendering my agenda. And to know that the answers are within. You know, if I dare to journey there, you know. I sponsor some amazing women. I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed. I don't know. I have this lucky life. I swear I didn't design it. I swear I didn't design it. You know, and you know, and if it changes tomorrow, I'm cool with it. You know, I value my God, my sobriety, and my family. And if that changes tomorrow, I just hold on to God with it for my life, for my dear direction, and you know, and try and let the people in my life off the hook, to having to be a certain way, to having to even understand them, you know. I go to about 4 or 5 meetings a week still. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I know, like, my mom passed away in March, and God, I want to tell you what's happened with me. I'm so sorry. I'm so like, but my dad died a little less than 2 years ago, and my mom died in March, and did about 30 rounds of forgiveness meditation for each parent over the course of my sobriety. So I could experience great neutrality. I think for me, you know, as I grow along spiritual lines, I start with self-obsession, and the next rung up for me is resentment, which means I'm pissed at you rather than I'm only thinking of me. And then, as the book talks about neutrality, I move to neutrality. Oh, you're just doing that. Oh, that's happening. And then the next rung up for me is compassion. If I care enough about you, I can understand what's motivating you and why you're afraid, which has nothing to do with me. And I might be your biggest trigger, but it has nothing to do with me. And so that's been my challenge. And you know, I was able to achieve that with my parents. I could really see. My father was so angry up until his last breath. So angry, so unaccepting, so not peaceful, so agitated, an alcoholic. And I felt sad for him. And, you know, early in my life and early in my recovery, I refused to forgive him. And yet, other messengers came in with old pain so that I could. Because I think God wants us to heal. So the patterns keep coming till I get the message. And of course I showed up for him, you know, because my sponsor tells me what to do. And I've never had a dying parent, so she tells me what to do. She tells me to call the nurse's station, see if he had a good night. She tells me what to do because I don't know what to do. And I had great neutrality and great compassion for my father. And my parents were married 50 years, and my mom lived another year and a half. And she went to hospice, and we were all around her when she took her last breath. I didn't have a bow ending, by the way. I didn't have that AA where you hold hands and they say they're sorry. None of that happened for me. But I showed up. And I got to catch the glimpse of the poetry of life. And I got to catch how my mom was so generous that she let us watch her die, and she was the most vain woman ever. I mean, I think she died in some Manolos. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. God forbid, a hair out of place, you know. And, you know, and I think, you know, as I have this disease of perception, as my perception changes, my experience changes. And my appreciation grows. You know, I'm on absolutely borrowed time and gravy, and the gravy train. The gravy train. I have great prosperity in my life. And that's not because of me. You know, that's because of the consciousness of supply. You know, and anyway, so you know, I want to say, if you're new here, God bless you. And if you're not 100% certain about this thing, you know, find someone who's in action here. Find someone who's of service here in any meeting and ask what they do. Find someone with light in their eyes. The Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is the most generous group of human beings I have ever met. Ever met. At the drop of a hat, they'll do something for you. And the magic words is, I need help. Can you help me? And you know, there is a solution here, and there is an amazing life here specifically tailored for you, for your heart, for your soul, for your understanding, for your peace. But we pick up the fundamentals, and then we describe the ride, because it's different for all of us. And I feel, you know, ever so blessed. Ever so blessed. That's all. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.